Yakuza 0. Where do I begin? Is the fact that I spent multiple hours trying to make it so that chicks looked as good as possible in my hostess club? Nah, that can't be it. That ain't right. Maybe it's the fact that I sunk at least 20 to 30 minutes on the same song in karaoke just so I would master it perfectly, which I never achieved, although it's still a great song. Maybe, just maybe, it's the fact that you get shot and moments later you and your buddy reveal the fact that no injuries have occurred through this entire game. Kazuma's completely unharmed for the fact that he took a bullet to the leg and a bullet to the shoulder moments earlier, because it's time to just kick some ass and take some names, show off your tattoos, and just go hard in the middle of the streets of Japan. But that can't be it either. That can't be right. Nah. This game is simply amazing in almost every facet. The combat, although a little stiff, is clean and polished. Just when I thought I couldn't imagine seeing anybody use Goro Majima's capoeira-based fighting style, I passed the controller to my roommate and watched him adapt it to its insane mechanics and beat one of the most difficult random encounters of the game. P.S. It's fucking Mr. Shakedown. He's pretty fucking insane. When I got bored, rare as that may have been, I had a great time simply exploring 1988 Japan, because the environment, though not massive, was engaging in almost all rights. People tripping over themselves to get chapstick, a dominatrix trying to learn how to get better at her job, filled in the gaps of time where I wanted to see what the world had to offer. The music is something that can be listened to by itself during almost anything you're doing to get you hyped, and characters had a level of depth I haven't seen in a game in years. This crime drama of a game had me going from the introduction, and I rode that high until the end credits. These are the kinds of games I want more of, so I present to you a critique of Yakuza 0. With that said, being that it is a critique, there's going to be some spoilers in it. Now that that's been said, I can easily say, let's hit this Yakuza 0 critique. You guys ready? Spoilers over. We're done. We're jumping right in. It was December 1988. You're Kazuma Kiryu. Long before the moniker that is the Dragon of Dojima has been branded upon him, because reasons. You're kicking the shit out of a guy who's behind on some loan shark's payments as a low-level Yakuza that you are. Putting him into an alleyway, you take his money after handing his ass to him for a little bit, and you present it to your client. After that, you get a message on your pager. And yes, I said pager, from your main guy, Akira, I would never fucking betray you, Nishikiyama, or Nishiki for short. Now I'm just gonna say right now that I am in no way Japanese, so if I butcher any names, I apologize. Play the game, listen to it. The vocal track's in Japanese anyway. You'll hear it at its best possible authenticity. Now, back to it. You get a message from Nishiki, and he says he wants to hang out, do some bro stuff, and pull an all-night binge of drinking and eating ramen noodles. Of course, this is your adoptive brother and your Yakuza comrade. You'd never turn him down. You go out, you get drunk, you sing karaoke. You're having a good time, only to find out that the guy whose ass you kicked in that small alleyway has turned up dead, shot, in Japan, in 1988. This is the very place and time where guns don't fucking exist, because of their incredibly strict gun laws, more commonly referred to as the Firearm and Sword Possession Control Law of 1958, where in principle, the possession of firearms and swords is prohibited. Kazuma, being the guy who put fist to him earlier, is now in danger of going to the slammer for, I don't know, murder, so he realizes things aren't going too hot. He gets a call from his bosses over in Dojima HQ. These are the people that he belongs to, that's his family, as the Italians would say, or I guess even the Japanese would say. They want him to let him know that he royally fucked up by killing that random civilian for no reason, and that they need to have a serious talk. Now, it doesn't seem that bad at the beginning, but this is just the very tip of the iceberg for our hero, Kazuma Kiryu. Now, jumping over to a guy whose life is equally shitty, we have our second protagonist, Goro, Mad Dog of Shimano, Majima. I think it's understood by anybody who's played the games up to this point that Goro Majima is known to be fucked with. Flashback to Yakuza 1 for the PlayStation 2, where I distinctly remember Majima beating somebody's face in for disrespecting Kiryu-chan with an umbrella while being serenaded by the voice that defined insanity, Mark Hamill, aka the Joker, because, well, that was a thing in the first one. But this doesn't look quite right. Majima's quiet, distinguished, relaxed, He's well dressed? This is a different Majima. A man managing a cabaret club so he can buy his way back into the Yakuza after an incident that not only got his brother thrown into prison, but lost him his eye. Majima has to run this club under the supervision of Tsukasa Sagawa, a member of the Shimano family, which is a subsidiary of the Tojo clan, and he makes sure of that. He can't leave the town due to his past insubordination, and the Shimano family is not one to forget. So he does what he's told so that he can get the golden ticket back into the family where he belongs, as if he had a choice. If he blows it, he'll be killed anyway. After finally getting a big break, a contract to kill someone, Majima straddles up. Having never killed anyone before, he isn't quite prepared, and after realizing his mark is a blind woman, he decides that he can't kill anyone without reason. He gets thrown into a world of chaos he could have never expected. Now, I've touched on the main characters, but it isn't quite enough of a description. Let's be honest, the amount of stuff that happens in this game is pretty insane, and the beginning is just that. I could spend hours trying to explain the whole story, but that's not why we're here. This is a prequel story to men who become legends, and by the end of it you have a full understanding as to why the Dragon of Dojima and the Mad Dog of Shimano are not to be fucked with. I had fun with this game for a myriad of reasons, and the one that was most entertaining for me was the combat. Putting the hurt on people for hours upon hours was my desire, and this game delivered in spades. Kiryu is given 4 different fighting styles throughout the game, 3 of which unlock naturally with basic progression, and 1 secret fighting style that I still haven't unlocked yet. You start off with your standard brawler mode. Think of this like picking Mario in Mario Kart or Crash in Crash Team Racing. It's balanced and has quite a bit of flexibility. You can beat on people with objects in the environment, or you can pound somebody's face in with some brutal combos. Dodging and blocking are still a thing in this fighting style, which is more than I can say for the other 2 main modes. If you like a good mix of speed and power, this has you written all over it. Then there's your rush mode. Fuck blocking. You're bobbing and weaving like Muhammad Ali and delivering blows in quick succession for your best attempt at stunning the enemy. You can put down damage and quick step in and out of fights, better here than the other 2 standard modes. I was never very good at using this one, too fast for me personally, but it is just as effective as you make it. You have my favorite personal mode of attack up next. The all-out savage ass-kicking, also known as the Beast. Shatter enemies' guards with brutal strikes, deal huge damage per hit, and any interactive objects in your path are automatically picked up and swung at your opponents. Its main drawback is the fact that you can't block. You can, but with your face. If you block in this mode, you take reduced damage by just absorbing the blow. And did I mention you can't actually run in this mode unless you've picked up momentum? It's a fun mode for people who enjoy dealing lots of damage with no regard for their own health or safety. Goro Majima is a bit different. His Mario mode is the thug style. He puts down big damage through hard hitting and fast combos. If you don't want to dodge and you got a bit of heat built up, you can snap your would-be attacker's neck. For some reason that's not a one-hit kill, don't ask me how. Very similar to Kazuma's brawler stance, though it does have its highlights, like its almost endless flurry of punches you can deliver without using a finisher. It's my preferred stance pick for good old Majima. That to me doesn't define him enough. Next we have the Slugger. Slugger's like old school Italian. You hit him with a fucking bat. You don't stop hitting them with the bat until they stop moving. Though the bat is slightly underpowered considering that it's a fucking metal bat, it makes sense. It's versatile but consistent. It can even be used as nunchucks if you wanted to. Oh, and you'll want to. It has some pretty solid crowd control. Not much to say about hitting people with a bat, except that if you enjoy hitting people with a bat, this is all you. Last but certainly not least, you're given the earlier mentioned capoeira-based fighting style. Breaker is for those who love speed and badness. Perfect for large groups due to the helicoptering you'll perform. It's similar to the rush style to an extent. It's all about moving fast and hitting people a lot. Even getting knocked down isn't an inconvenience, you just helicopter your way back up. I could never manage to become proficient with the style myself, but the game has something for everyone. Now, let's talk about heat actions. No, let's talk about heat moves. If you've been playing Yakuza since day one, you'll know why I call them heat moves. Heat moves are the bread and butter of the over-the-top combat. suplexes, face kicks, A-town stomps. If you think it, you could probably do it. When you see them unveiled, you'll cringe, you'll chant, and you'll wince. I never thought I would see a day when I would see a guy get nails shoved in his mouth and then punched in the face until I played a Yakuza game. But that doesn't stop me from picking up a box of nails and wrecking someone with it. Heat moves are done in multiple different ways. You can have a down, stunned, or standing opponent acted upon with these. There are even some for multiple enemies. Hit triangle with a full heat bar and let them have it. Combat is primarily fought on an axis of sorts, and because of this, some action and movements are kind of stiff when executed. This is primarily an issue with the thug and brawler playstyles. It doesn't detract from it, but I've noticed this being a trend in all of the Yakuza titles I've had the chance to play, so I thought it was worth mentioning. But that's enough about the combat. It's only one real aspect of the game. There's a whole lot more to be explored. Alright, so I'm going to come right out with it. This game looks awesome. Sometimes. The game is jam-packed with random encounters, and if you give it out an hour of play, you'll notice you'll be fighting groups of same-faced creepy mobs. You got puffy-faced guy, young-looking dude, angry Yakuza type, and that's basically it. And they're fucking ugly. The more you look at them, the more you'll see it. It's obvious that the graphics were put into the main characters, maybe a little too much. You can count the pores on Kazuma's face if you try. This game goes by the rules of Final Fantasy. If they're not important, they're probably unsettling. You ever watch an anime where the future protagonist chick is in a group of nobodies and she has green hair while everybody else is brown and black? Yeah, it's like that. The almost Super Saiyan glow from having your heat bar filled up looks awesome, and heat moves when executed show all the details that come with a supreme ass beating. Blood, sweat, and tears. But then we go to the environment itself, and you can yet again see that this shared its release with the PlayStation 3 years prior. It doesn't look horrible, but you can tell that the game isn't on the next level in that sense. It makes up for it in the environment coming to life. As I handed over the controller to my roommate, who was stationed in Japan for a couple of years, he remarked that when he lived there, a lot of the stores looked very similar. Specifically, Don Quixote. I thought that the track was really annoying in that store, and I realized over time that people actually work in places like that, where a track just repeats over and over and over again. It's got to drive them nuts, but for some weird reason I found myself listening to it as I wrote this script at least 4 times in a row. But that's not all. The guy in the street that wants to play shogi, or the people handing out tissue all the time for what I thought was just to clog your inventory, all immerse you into the Japanese culture. I asked another buddy of mine who lived in Japan for a couple of years what this was all about. Apparently this is not just an inconvenience in game, it's a real-life marketing strategy where they shove ads into the tissue pack akin to that of our matchbooks with strip club locations and phone numbers on them. This is something that they actually do. And attention to detail like that hasn't been there for just this game in the series. Something that you might notice about this title is though it appears everybody in town is rolling around with obscene amounts of money. Wads of cash like you couldn't imagine fly out of people for almost every blow. But this too is a callback to the Japanese economic bubble of 1986 to 1991. Money was no object. If you worked in real estate, you had pockets like Warren Buffett. The value of land was at this time unrivaled. Loans were flying out of people like they were cool for a culture that was currently in an overheat, meaning demand was way too high for property. People had money and they wanted to spend it. And in the Sin City that is Kamurocho, based on the real-life Kakubicho, they do just that. Props to Sega for the hard work and dedication to make these games as accurate to Japan as they can get. I'm not going to gush about music too long in this review, or should I say critique, though it should be noted that the music in this is a masterpiece of techno, metal, pop, a mix of all three. It's all over the place in all the right ways. I found myself listening to Pledge of Demon, the theme song of Daisaku Kuze, an embarrassing amount. Oath of Anma also kills it. But the music defined the bosses in the world in a way that few games have in the past. Go on ahead, YouTube some of the soundtrack. Something will suit your fancy no matter what you're into, and that's a promise. But on the mention of Daisaku Kuze, let's talk about bosses. I fucking love the 3 lieutenants of the Yakuza 0 storyline. They have their own realistic ambitions and means to achieve them. Hiroki Urano, the fun-loving badass extortionist, knows he's fully capable of being more than he is. But that's not what matters to him. He just likes having fun and sinking people's faces in. His face has this Italian mafia look to it, always scrunched up in this "you better make this easier or I'll break your face" half smile. And let's not even start on that turtleneck. Owano, purple sutu, pun intended. Then you have Keiji Shibusawa. This dude, he's not one to get his hands dirty often, but when he does, he doesn't play no games. Usually the paperwork guy of the three, he's a cool, collected man who works in the shadows playing the games of climbing the top like a chess match. He doesn't look young, but he sure as hell fights like he is, but his maturity shows through his calculated actions. Hamare Nishitani is Goro Majima after the events of Yakuza 0. Let me clarify, he is what Goro Majima becomes personality-wise. Oh, and weapon-wise too. Another fun-loving guy that has no regard for the rules of law, etc. He's not there. But if you watch his actions as a previous Yakuza player, you can clearly see that Majima was a huge fan of his lifestyle. And then there's my personal favorite. Daisaka Kuze is the man. He's a man of honor and tradition. A Yakuza trope is that all Yakuza big guns have an animal tattoo or a demon on his body. Kazuma has a dragon, Majima has a Hanya mask, but Kuze has the judge of the underworld, Enma. This god determines whether you go to heaven or hell, which is fitting for him considering that it's the role he plays as a Yakuza. His underlings are the people who take the time out of their day to shove people's heads so far up their ass they can see the sunshine, and he's not above it. You never see Kuze with a gun. He's going to beat you down with his hands, or a pipe, or brass knuckles. He gets knocked down and never stops coming, and I'm almost positive he's the only boss in the series with 2 boss fight songs. And goddamn this guy's voice. Jesus. It was as if Japanese Clint Eastwood went down to the quarry and asked for an industrial-sized cup of the finest gravel. And the guy that voices him is like a mirror image. Take the time out of your day, Google him. It is spot fucking on. You may find yourself trying to hate Kuze, but you can't. He's just doing his job. Hunting you down, stomping your face, being an enforcer of sorts. By the end of the game, you'll love his determination and drive to stop you. Not for power, but for pride and honor. I had no idea what to expect whenever I saw him, and I liked it that way. Now I don't want to forget about all the stuff I did just for the sake of doing it in this game. Baseball, bowling, UFO catcher, old school Sega arcade games, micro car racing, hostess club operating, real estate selling, erotic video watching. You name it, I did it. This game is bursting with plenty of stuff to do outside the main story, and each of these activities acts as a game by itself. I just hope you brushed up on your mahjong and your shogi, because I sure as fuck didn't and have no idea how to play them. But if you do, there is money in it. You won't be putting bikers' faces into pavement all the time. Go out and explore the world. It's a great time. Look, if this hasn't sold you on the game, I don't know what will. If you're looking for a number score or a letter, well, today I'll be introducing you to my personal rating system. No numbers, no letters. This game gets my first issued good fucking game. All the good stuff in the game just slightly soiled by samey graphics on occasion and somewhat stiff on occasion combat. Pop quiz. How many Yakuza games are there? Fucking 14 of them. How many have Americans played? 7 at a maximum. You get a second chance. They're localizing the first one's remake. It'll get here in 2018. Play it. These games need more attention from an American audience, and I'll be damned if I get shafted out of good games because people ignore them. I loved Yakuza 1 and 2. Due to not having a PlayStation 3 until near death of the console, I missed a lot of the good ones to follow. Don't be me. Play them. If not for me, do it for Sega. Never thought I'd say that shit, following the abomination that is Sonic the Hedgehog clinging on for dear life. But that's alright. There's so much to look forward to in this game, and honestly, I couldn't turn it away, regardless of how much I wanted to stop. After I finished getting all of the information for my review, I think I put an additional 20 to 30 hours into it. About 14 of those hours were consecutive gameplay, just trying to finish up Kazuma Kiryu's real estate sales. The game's got a lot to offer in that sense, and you can get lost in it just doing random stuff. I absolutely did. But that about wraps it up for me. If you guys have any questions about the game or you want to know more about my personal opinion, be sure to comment on it and I'll be sure to reply to you as soon as possible. Regardless, if you enjoyed what I did and you want to see more of it, be sure to like, subscribe, and all that other know-how. I don't want to say underneath or above because YouTube constantly changes, as we all know. Either way, it was a good time talking with you guys about one of my favorite games so far this year. And thanks for sticking around, because honestly, this was a little bit longer than I know what most people are used to. It's not considered long-form content because I know I didn't make a 30-minute video, I guess. I'm not a TV show. I guess I'm just a guy that likes talking about video games. Remember, before I go though, if it ain't ham, it ain't right. Thanks for watching.